afternoon, Cubes of the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and welcome back to another Savage Saturday. This is episode 188, and we're pretty excited about this one because with very light, almost no spoilers at all, but there will be a few. We are talking about Solomon Kane. He is back in color, bigger than life, and just glorious. Now, we're going to go over some pros, some cons, and we're going to review this. It was a 4-issue miniseries put out by Titan Comics and Heroic Publishing, and written with interior art and cover arts, a lot of covers by Patrick Zurcher, who has done a few other Solomon Kane short stories in the Savage Sword of Conan that Titan Publishing is putting out, and really enjoyed those. Really thought that he had a great hold on who Solomon Kane is, all the guilt that Solomon Kane carries with him, all the sense of duty, the sense of honor. Solomon Kane is a Puritan, and if you've never read any of the Robert E. Howard stories or any of the previous comics of Solomon Kane that have ever been published, whether it was by Marvel, Blackthorn Publishing, or Dark Horse Comics, this is a great jumping on point. This is accessible to the new reader. Part of the reason why the first issue I think is a little bit of a slow burn is there's a lot of characters to introduce, and it paces it out. It might be a little slow for some. I didn't have an issue with it, although at the end of the first issue I did want it to start picking up, and it does in issue 2 once these characters start meeting. Now with this story, so here is the cover from here's the cover from Patrick Zurcher for issue 1. Now, absolutely gorgeous. Now, they do what I love, right? You have a map inside. The map is beautiful. You see Africa, where most of our story is going to take place. And we got a little thing here we'll read. This is their introduction. It says, "The Puritan's Path, Solomon Kane, warrior, wanderer, guided by faith and honor. With his rapier and a brace of pistols, the sword of vengeance defends the weak and battles the wicked. Be they wild brigands or the nameless, supernatural terrors of the dark. A man of few words but fierce conviction. Kane's path has carried him far from his Devonshire home, to moors and haunted castles of England, the dark forests of Europe, and the Turkish hordes of the Ottoman Empire. Now Kane finds himself on an English galleon in the service of Queen Elizabeth. Here on the high seas, Kane will be drawn into a quest unlike any before, one whose consequences will coil serpent-like through the ages of the world." So, what do you need to read before reading this? Absolutely nothing. Like I said, this first issue, slow burn. It opens up. You got a quick introduction. This guy, Paolo, taking something out of Africa. And then you have Solomon Kane and Paolo meeting. They're on opposing ships, and Kane finds him in the captain's quarters. He's looking for the captain, and Paolo draws on him. Kane shoots and kills him. As the guy's dying, though, Kane, with his Puritan guilt, asks him for his forgiveness, and in response, the guy hands him this little statue of a snake. He says, "Get this to my brother-in-law, and I can forgive you." So Kane now has a quest, and that's about as spoiler as we're going to get. All right, but give you something to go on to start. Now, Kane is a complicated character, and Zurcher really understands the character. One of the strengths of the story is how he depicts Solomon Kane's unwavering faith in his beliefs, his willingness to sacrifice himself for others. Kane is not out for his own personal good. Kane is out for the good of others. He is in the world to make the world a better place for everybody else that is living in it, not himself. So his mission is always one of self-sacrifice, and it's really a big part of this character's nobility, one that really draws you to him and draws you in, especially since he always sees things that are in distinct contrast to the faith that he has. Now, it says the serpent ring, so we're going to deal with the serpent men in this issue, right? And it gets a little bit into that lore. Now, what's cool is this is connective tissue between the Volusian Age, the Hyborian Age, Solomon Kane's age. There's just so much that just having the Serpent Men themselves in here tied together for all these Robert E. Howard characters. And again, though, you don't need to know about them in the other stories to read this. This is a tale that stands on its own. Now, I said the first issue is kind of introductory to a lot of characters and the situations that are going on. All right, you have Solomon Kane, obviously. You have Pialo, who Solomon Kane kills in the beginning. Then you have Abramo Ben Said, his brother, who's a librarian and a historian and an antiquarian. You have his daughter, Diamanta Ben Said, all right? And they live in the Republic of Venice in the Ghetto Vecchio, all right? So the old ghetto is pretty much what it translates into. You have the Priestess of Set, which is introduced later on in this story, Shakavet, who is pretty cool and an immediate threat when she shows up. You have Father Gancalo, who some unfortunate business happens with him. We'll just leave it at that. And then you have a pair of rogues, Zarza and Nico, who are also after the Serpent Ring, because where you find the Serpent Ring, you supposedly find a bunch of treasure as well, and they're out to change their fortunes. All right, so those are the main characters on the screen. And Bandu as well. The prose, the art, the panels are gorgeous. And I'm going to try to go through a couple of these issues and just show you some beautiful panels here. Now, the coloring is amazing. Now you can see the scenes playing out. And that's just some basic. And then you see the color contrast when you get the introduction of Solomon Kane. Just amazing, front and center. But you get some good battle pages here. So the action flows, great dialogue. The dialogue is thought out. It's not just there for nonsense. The characters live and breathe. And another one of the strengths of this series is that Zurcher takes the time with dialogue, through character situations, through story elements. Each character is very distinctive. You're not reading it and you're confusing one character with another. They're all very distinctive. They all have a role to play. So we'll get you to some more moodiness. Like, look at this shot of Kane here in the rain. How gorgeous is that? I mean, Zurcher is just doing his best work ever right now on this. Then you get to Venice and the Ghetto Vecchio, and there you go. You're where Abramo and his daughter Diamante live. And they get embroiled. Look at this. Come on now. How great is that art? So they get embroiled in this mystery because Solomon Kane keeps his promise to the guy he killed, and he brings them the thing. Now, they are going to head off to Africa to look for the Serpent Ring. They all have their own motives for doing it. Kane's motive at first is just to deliver this. But a pair of brigands come in, one that Abramo knows, and they threaten to take the map. But the daughter, Diamante, threatens to burn it. And then they find them all themselves in a standoff, and they make a vow to go on this adventure together and split the treasure. Solomon Kane doesn't care about the treasure. Solomon Kane vows to go on because he still feels indebted to the guy that's his Puritan guilt, and he promises to be the guard for Abramo and his daughter Diamante. All right, and then they're off for Africa. They're off to the Kwanzaa River. They travel up it, and it takes them about 2 months, and they're there where this poor tribe has kind of been demolished by the threat of the Serpent Men. There's a lot going on. We're just going to keep it light like that. But issue 2, the pace picks up. You get bonding moments between the 5 characters that are on this journey together. Abramo, his daughter, Solomon Kane, Nico, Zarza. They're thrown together. They travel for 2 months by boat. And they get to know each other as traveling companions, as only that kind of proximity can let you know each other. but there's still no trust between Solomon Kane Abramo and his daughter with the rogues that are also there. Once you threaten their life, it's kind of hard to trust, right? Another pro is the coloring and cliffhangers. Each issue has a cliffhanger. It's nothing gigantic, but something that certainly whets your appetite to get to the next issue. And we're going to try to show you some art here. Of course, you got the map, you got the opening page, you got this great looking serpent skull. You get the introduction in this issue of Shaw Cavett right here, and she looks fantastic as the priestess of Set. And what you get too is just they don't just paint them. Zurcher goes beyond this is the bad guy, they must be defeated. He draws a lot of dichotomies between their religion and other religions in the world. And one of the things that I like about this is, she talks in part of the story to one of the characters about, you consider us evil. We don't kill our own kind. You do. And yes, we kill you guys, but we don't kill our own. You guys kill everyone. And so you get some religious comparisons, which are kind of cool, all in a fantasy setting through fiction. And you got some, I don't want to show that one, that'll give something away. Well, look at this interior shot. Look at the lighting. The art's amazing. And literally every panel in the dialogue draws you in. You could tell this was an absolute labor of love for Patrick Zurcher. And it shines in every panel. It shines in every sentence. And it is just amazing. I want to show you some other scenes here, but ones that aren't very spoilery. And just to showcase this art. Now, we got a good old bar fight in this issue, which is more of a bonding part for these characters that are traveling together. That is the cliffhanger. We will not show you that. But let's get to issue 3. Now, the characters, I said, all plotted well, all distinctive, all different, great character designs. Some of the cons of this story might be that it might start a little slow for people, but I describe this story as a slow burn to an inferno. Like each issue, the pace just gets quicker and quicker, especially once he's taken the time to introduce the plot and the characters to the new readers of Solomon Kane. You really have to know who this character is to feel for him and his sensibilities. We got a nice opening page here on the Kwanzaa. And I really want to show you. All right, here's some cool stuff there. Just different colors, different shading, different moods, atmospheres. Here's a great 2-pager with Shaw Cavett, explaining a little bit of her history. And right here, just a great panel with Solomon Kane down there. So overall, we're going to give the art in this is an A++ all the way. Like the highest grade you could give art is what I'm going to give this. It's just amazing. Not only is the art clean, not only does it depict each character individually and very well, you can always tell who you're looking at. The scenery is amazing. The settings are incredible. The line of vision and the perspectives that Patrick Zurcher gives you all feed the story, which is fantastic. And you really start to care for all the other characters that are introduced along with Solomon Kane. You kind of feel their plight. You kind of know where they're coming from. You understand their motivations, which is a big deal. Nothing's just black or white. There's gray area. There's a lot more going on with each character than just I'm good, I'm bad, and I really appreciate that in the storytelling. So let's see. Look at you. Here's another great scene right here. We'll just show you that art. How amazing is that? And we just have a lot going on. Now, one of the cons for me, though, is I really missed him having his juju staff from Inlanga, his friend. Now, you guys may not know who Inlanga is, but if you're the Solomon Kane reader, you know exactly who Inlanga is. You know his importance to Solomon Kane. And you know what that character represents to Solomon Kane, in contrast to what Solomon Kane believes in his own religion. But Solomon Kane can't deny the existence of that or the effectiveness and response from what Inlanga has given him. And the Juju staff is part of that, and it saved Solomon Kane on more than one occasion. And so I miss the presence of the Juju staff because I consider it like part of an extension of Solomon Kane. And I also consider it something that he carries that he's totally against, yet he knows he needs. That it's against his religion to believe in it, but he can't deny with his own eyes at the effect that this staff has. Now, of course, it's not in here, so the point is moot. But overall, if we're going to grade this series, if we're going to go on a scale of 1 to 5, this is going to be a 4.5. We'll deduct some points for a little bit of drawn out startup of the story. For me, it worked. For others, I could see it taking a little too long to get to where it's going at the beginning with the introduction of the characters. Again, for me, it worked. I like that kind of stuff. But most people, when they're reading a 4-issue mini, they want to get right to it. All right? But once it gets to it, it doesn't feel rushed. It feels right. It feels appropriate. The pace seems accurate. The interactions are good. The passing of time between the characters is great. And the situations that they're put in really test each character's mettle, as in contrast to who they are against the other person, right? And there's no continuity errors with how these people act and who they are as individuals. So throughout this whole story, you're just seeing whose motivations are going to win out and what's going to happen to some of these people who have side motivations, some side plots. I've heard some people say that there was too many storylines in the first issue to keep track of. I can see that point and understand it, but they all blend in together into one concise narrative going through. You just had to introduce all the plot lines until they could gel. Kind of beginning near the end of issue 2 and definitely in issue 3 and the wrap up issue 4. Everything makes sense. There's nothing really left loose. Everything's tied up nicely. Has a satisfying ending. And yet, it leaves you with the promise of more. Not only more Solomon Kane, but the Serpent Ring, Tathimon, the Serpent People. There is a lot going on. There's a lot established here for a 4-issue miniseries. A lot of world building, and a lot of this puts you firmly in Solomon Kane's world. And you'll find yourself just staring at some of the panels and forgetting to read ahead because the panel's so beautiful. And then you'll start carrying on forward. But overall, let's give this series, like I said, a 4.5 out of 5. Some of you may think it has some pacing issues at the beginning. I was okay with it. Again, overall, I hope there's a lot more of Solomon Kane to come from Patrick Zircher because I think he understands this character. But Patrick, I implore you, get that Juju staff in the story a bit more. That's it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick review. And until next time, thank you for watching and keep it casual.